Archie's TV Laugh Out issue 55. Hilda loves Sabrina's cookie and asks why she's making so many. I guess she really finds it satisfying to cook the mortal way instead of immediately zapping stuff up. She's cooking for the young Christmas carolers when they come around. I've never met one. Predictably, Hilda disapproves and says that witches don't celebrate Christmas, they celebrate Halloween. Sabrina's family celebrates Christmas all the time. Hilda wastes time reminding Sabrina to be an evil witch, and somehow Sabrina thinks that Della won't find out she has a Christmas tree in the house. When Hilda asks if she'll ever learn to act like a witch, I wondered if Sabrina actually would misbehave this story as a twist. Harvey tells Sabrina to see the Santa snowman he made out front. She calls it an original idea and says she'll go get her coat. For no reason, Hilda blames Harvey for the way Sabrina is, and not all the other people she interacted with, and she zaps his Santa snowman to ruin it. Sabrina zaps up an iron pipe and tells him to build it again, but this time around this reinforcement so that it won't fall down. She lies to him that it was always there. It's a shame she won't just reverse time to restore the snowman. Harvey tells her to come outside again, and Hilda plans on kicking it down, so she ends up getting an injured foot. So the story ends with Harvey giving her a crutch with a bow on it. And all because Hilda wanted to kick it because she was so mad when she could have easily just melted it. Archie's TV Laugh Out issue 56. Harvey's excited to shop at a toy shop with Sabrina for his nephew's birthday. Sabrina shows good chemistry with him, saying that she likes toy shops too for being nostalgic. He plays with a paddle ball, and then the store owner takes it from him and says he's not allowed to play with his merchandise until after it's paid for. He's blatantly portrayed as an unlikable person, saying that in his store, his opinions count. So Sabrina says he shouldn't be in the toy business, and Harvey says he's a grouch. Luckily, no one responds to those remarks that he would have heard. Harvey plays with a hula hoop and wonders if that craze will come back. I remember seeing those, so I guess it did. The store owner says it's used now, and Harvey says that just because it was tried out once doesn't mean it's used. When even Harvey is smarter than you, there's a problem. The store owner sarcastically recommends buying a kid something breakable because they break things all the time. Sabrina decides to leave and thinks that if all those toys were hers, she'd do what she used to do as a kid. She does it now and makes the toys talk and freak him out. So they argue with each other, talking too much. Eventually, he finally runs out of there, somehow surviving crashing through a window without any injuries. The next day, Sabrina has a hunch that she should go back to the store, and it turns out it's going out of business and having a great sale. This story was annoying because the owner of the toy store was too grumpy with Harvey for trying out the toys for free, and there was too much focus on his dialogue. Eventually, Sabrina uses magic, but all that happens to give him comeuppance is that some toys talk too much and freak him out. It's not like he got silly cartoon slapstick. He just stands there for a while, and then survives running through a window somehow to have a huge sale at his store. Archie's TV Laugh Out issue 57. Harvey tells Sabrina he loves the sweater she bought him, and then tells her she paid too much for it. After I saw the story where Sabrina told him he paid too much for something and he returned it, I can't help but find it satisfying to see her on the other end of this. He also says it's a little big on him, and shows some bad social skills by telling her she should bring back the gift for a refund. But at least he has good intentions. He wants her to get half her money back, and at the end of the day, it's better to have a companion that's honest and looking out for your best interests. He plans on going to another store with her for a sweater that fits. Lucky for Harvey, instead of getting offended at him rejecting her gift and overreacting like Veronica might do, Sabrina just agrees to the suggestion. She asks for a refund. The guy asks if they have a sales slip, which is fortunately in the box. Harvey was at least that smart. The guy tells her to take the slip over to Sweaters and have the salesperson initial it. That sounds like more work than should be necessary. I guess the store will do literally anything to get people to give up on getting a refund. I hope it's not this unfairly stupid today. As after Sabrina gets that done, she's told to take it over to claims and adjustments for clearance because she can't just do that right here. Even Sabrina realizes what they're trying to do here. She finds this embarrassing, and wishes Harvey wasn't with her so that she could zap the sweater down to his size. She could do that and then use magic to make him think it always fit him so that he wouldn't be confused. I'm not sure whether to think it was good that the writer pointed out that she could do that, or bad because it made it obvious to everybody and made me realize how easily she could have avoided this plot. Sabrina's told someone can't clear it until it's processed through central accounting. Sabrina gets asked if she has any proof that her name is Sabrina. She says Harvey knows it's her and her name is even on her bracelet. The guy is deliberately difficult with her and says that she could be wearing someone else's bracelet. Sabrina finally loses her temper and uses magic to summon some criminals out of thin air who verify that her name's Sabrina. One of them grabs the guy and tells him to give her the money. But reality ensues because he runs away calling for the police after he's let down, and the story ends with Harvey not having a refund. At least Sabrina foreshadows that she's going to use magic to make the sweater fit him. At least I hope that's what is happening when she says he's going to grow into it someday. She could be saying that to make him more likely to think it'll make sense when he tries it on the next time. And he's clearly better off having an oversized sweater than an undersized one. This story was an interesting plot to me about Harvey actually suggesting to Sabrina that she return his gift for a refund, and Sabrina's the best girlfriend ever because she agrees without complaint instead of getting openly offended, which is a relief because it'd be annoying otherwise. And the clothing store has them go to a huge amount of people just to try to get a refund. And then at the end of it, the guy has the gall to ask Sabrina for proof of her identity. Why couldn't she just show him her driver's license or health card? It'd have her name and photo on it. And if she doesn't have either, why not her library card? It sure is a shame that she didn't come here with her purse because she was in a hurry. Instead, Sabrina loses her temper before either of them could think of that and summons a criminal to threaten the jerk. But sadly, we don't see any slapstick, and instead just runs away without giving her a refund. So everything she went through was for nothing. She could have just told him to go home and hope he'll grow into the sweater someday at the start of the story. She could have acted like Veronica, and the whole plot would have been avoided. I hope it's not actually that hard to get a refund, and all you need is a receipt. But I've never tried at one of those stores, so I can't really speak about whether it's a big plot hole or not. Archie's TV Laugh Out, issue 58. Harvey says he got to Sabrina's house as fast as he could, and she surprises them with concert tickets. But there's a reason they're for free. They're for a flute recital. She says it's an opportunity for him to widen his musical background. And he thinks it's just a stuffed shirt concert and would rather go bowling. She says he could do that anytime and she's bad at it. Would she have gotten into the habit of using magic to look good at it? I remember that. He says he'll teach her bowling and she throws it the wrong way, so she has to use magic to make it so that the bowling ball won't stop bouncing. It goes out into the street and he thinks she's really strong. This is making me smile, so it must be funny. It bounces off a bus stop and he runs into someone to avoid it as it hits him. The guy calls him crazy, not knowing the context. And the story ends with Harvey beaten up, and he says he'd like to see the concert. For some reason, the people in the bowling alley just look angry instead of being realistically concerned about his black eyes. This story is about Sabrina being relatable and showing a new side to her for a change that wants to go to a flute concert for once. And Harvey prefers rock concerts, even though rock music would be too loud live. And he takes her bowling even though she's bad at it. Then she makes the thrown bowling ball keep bouncing out the door, and then he gets beaten up. I have to assume that she did this just to punish him for taking her bowling, because there's no other reason she'd make it bounce so much. At least it wasn't predictable like making herself good at bowling, and it was funny to see him chase after it. Archie's TV Laugh Out, issue 59, Play Ball. We see the novel side of 70s Sabrina playing baseball. She gives advice to Alice, and Harvey thinks it's silly because he thinks the girls are never going to be good at baseball since they're girls, which demonstrates why Sabrina was barely written as playing baseball back then. A girl says that this is softball. Other than her not having a pitcher's mitt, I don't see a difference. Harvey wastes time with rude comments and it distracts Sabrina so that she can't hit the ball. So when Harvey says he'll show them how it's done, Sabrina thankfully uses magic to make sure he won't do well. which is good because he was being a jerk. It's pretty obvious that magic exists when the ball moves around weirdly. Harvey just calls the pitcher a dummy, assuming that he made the ball move like that on purpose, rather than questioning how that was even possible, as if he already knows about witches and casually assumes he's a warlock. Harvey says to let him pitch, and he throws it and doesn't want the girls to see him being clumsy, and he and his friends run into each other. Sabrina wants to get back to practice, and Alice is on her side, asking in a cool way, "Shall we clear the field of the debris?" She throws a ball at Sabrina and she hits it at the guys. This story was boring because it was just another of the trillions of stories out there with a message against sexism in sports. Harvey's at least got the excuse that he's supposed to be seen as an idiot. And he's had this problem in the 70s comic a few times too. And it's the 70s, so I can't say that this is forced. But it is a very predictable story. It was satisfying seeing the jerks run into each other. And it's good that Sabrina actually hit the baseball the real way instead of needing magic to be good at it, which wouldn't have proven anything. But other than Sabrina making the guy's baseball move weirdly, which wasn't necessary or reacted to realistically anyways, this kind of story could have been any franchise. Archie's TV Laugh Out, issue 60. Sabrina doesn't look sympathetic at first, thinking of this girl who says it's nice to see her as a date napper. Doris tells her that she's a grand sport to not be upset that she has a date with Harvey. Who would say grand sport? She must only be saying she wasn't upset to annoy her, because Sabrina looked annoyed in the first panel. Then she isn't sure what Harvey's name is. And Sabrina says that she just got lucky because Harvey plays hard to get. Since when? He's always the first to get distracted by girls. She must be lying to her. Doris flatters herself about her own charm and air of mystery, and Sabrina calls that hot air leaking from a swelled head. The minute Harvey goes up to Sabrina, you'd think Sabrina would use magic to make him change his mind about dating Doris. Instead, Sabrina tediously wastes our time not doing that. She says Doris would have the fact that she has a date printed on a bumper sticker and says, with a bumper like she's got, she could print the Declaration of Independence. So Doris calls Sabrina bad, and Harvey looks relatable by telling them to stop arguing, but then smiles and says that there's enough of him to go around. So it's satisfying when Sabrina gets mad at him. So Sabrina decides to walk away and cast a spell to make Doris accident prone. I guessed at the start that she would fail to ruin their date somehow, like in the Archie's Madhouse stories with Rosalind. So I hope that doesn't happen because we have no reason to sympathize with Doris, even if she looks great. She falls and Harvey helps her up, gets splashed with water by a car along with Harvey, and she smartly wonders where that puddle came from. Harvey says this hasn't been a memorable date, even though I'd expect him to say the opposite in a bad way. Doris recognizes the guy who delivers pizzas for a restaurant and greets him for no apparent reason. So Harvey gets hit with a pizza, and sadly the guy says that he could lose his job. Good thing the pizza being sent out of the box is explained as magic or it'd make no sense. Sabrina comes around the corner and Harvey says that Doris is a bad luck date. I've already seen a plot where Sabrina jinxed all of his girlfriends when he tried to cheat on her. Sabrina says that Doris says there is no such thing as luck, and so Doris is just bad, and Harvey agrees. This story was better than I thought it would be, but it was still tedious because of its beginning. It's good writing that it establishes that Doris is a jerk who deserves Sabrina's magic abuse, instead of Sabrina looking too mean. But it didn't have to go on for more than one page. Instead, it wasted 3 entire pages at the start on tedium that Sabrina could have easily avoided by just using magic to brainwash Harvey into turning Doris down for that date. It's a relief that Sabrina did succeed at ruining their date, because I remembered the story where she tried to punish a mean girl and could only make her hair look better. It's too bad she had to have Harvey suffer from the bad luck too. I didn't expect that, but it makes sense to motivate him to get away from Doris, instead of just having him feel sorry for her. Archie's Joke Book Magazine 247. Hilda's at a witch picnic and hits the ball with a baseball bat. And then a more regular-looking guy says he doesn't care if she's a witch. She has to run the bases like everyone else, as Hilda's flying on a broom instead. If it's a witch picnic, wouldn't this be the norm? He looks like a normal guy at first. Sabrina says she put a spell on her typewriter to make it type up her school composition, but of course she fails. She says that her spell doesn't know how to spell. How? It's able to access any knowledge it needs to have. If it can figure out how to write a composition like it's got a mind of its own, it should be able to learn the right way to spell things even more easily. But she did say a sort of amusing pun. While sitting on a merry-go-round, Sabrina's told by Hilda that they have to report to the Witches' Convention right away. I wish I knew why. Sabrina thinks that a broom is uncomfortable for a long journey, so she flies past Hilda on a flying horse from the merry-go-round. And she says she'll return it as soon as she gets back. Or she could use magic to create a duplicate of it on the merry-go-round to avoid suspicion. It'd be better if that happened after this.